World War II was not only a clash of armies, it was a war of machines. From the thunder of heavy tanks to the hum of supply trucks, Germany fielded one of the most diverse military vehicle arsenals in history. Some were revolutionary, some were desperate improvisations. Together, they powered blitzkrieg, sustained vast fronts, and shaped modern, mechanized warfare. In this documentary, we break down every major German vehicle used during World War II: tanks, tank destroyers, artillery, half-tracks, reconnaissance cars, motorcycles, and logistical lifelines. This is not myth. This is not legend. This is the machinery of war. Panzer I. Originally designed as a training vehicle, the Panzer I was never intended to fight a modern war. But when Germany invaded Poland in 1939, necessity overruled design. Armed with only 2 machine guns and protected by thin armor, the Panzer I could not survive direct combat against enemy tanks. Its true strength lay elsewhere: speed, numbers, and coordination. Used in mass formations, the Panzer I helped demonstrate the principles of blitzkrieg: rapid movement, combined arms, and shock action. It trained thousands of German crews under real battlefield conditions. Though obsolete almost from the start, the Panzer I played a crucial role in shaping Germany's armored doctrine. It was not a weapon of power, but a weapon of learning. Panzer II. The Panzer II was meant as a temporary solution, a stopgap tank, to fill the gap until more powerful designs arrived. Yet when war broke out, it became the backbone of Germany's early armored forces. Armed with a 20mm autocannon, the Panzer II was effective against infantry, light vehicles, and early enemy armor. During the invasions of Poland, France, and the Low Countries, it spearheaded the blitzkrieg. As the war progressed, its thin armor and light gun proved inadequate. But its story did not end there. The Panzer II's chassis became the foundation for numerous self-propelled guns and artillery vehicles, extending its usefulness far beyond the battlefield. It was never meant to last, yet it carried Germany through the opening chapters of the war. Panzer III. The Panzer III was designed with a single purpose in mind: to fight enemy tanks. Unlike earlier designs, it featured a 3-man turret: commander, gunner, and loader, allowing superior battlefield awareness and faster target engagement. This layout would become the standard for modern tanks. Early versions carried light guns, but upgrades followed quickly as battlefield realities changed. During the invasions of Poland, France, and the opening stages of Operation Barbarossa, the Panzer III formed the core of Germany's armored divisions. However, the arrival of heavily armored Soviet tanks exposed its limits. Its guns struggled, its armor fell behind. Yet the Panzer III did not disappear. Its reliable chassis lived on as the foundation for assault guns like the StuG III. It was a tank built for doctrine, and it defined an era of armored warfare. Panzer IV. The Panzer IV was never meant to be Germany's main battle tank, yet it became exactly that. Originally designed as an infantry support vehicle, it carried a short-barreled gun ideal for high-explosive shells. But war demanded adaptation. As enemy armor improved, the Panzer IV evolved. Longer guns, thicker armor, constant upgrades. It was the only German tank produced continuously from the first day of war until the last. From the deserts of North Africa to the frozen plains of Russia, the Panzer IV fought on every major front. Reliable, versatile, and endlessly adaptable. While flashier tanks gained fame, it was the Panzer IV that carried the weight of Germany's armored war. The true workhorse of the Wehrmacht. Panzer IV Panther. The Panther was born from shock. In 1941, German forces encountered the Soviet T-34, and everything changed. Germany needed a new tank. Fast. The result was the Panther. With sloped armor, excellent mobility, and a high-velocity 75mm gun, it combined protection and firepower with deadly efficiency. On paper, it was nearly perfect. Early models suffered from mechanical failures, especially during their debut at Kursk. But once refined, the Panther proved devastating. It could destroy enemy tanks at long range while remaining difficult to penetrate in return. Many historians consider it the finest medium tank of the war. A machine forged in urgency, then perfected by combat. Panzer VI Tiger. When the Tiger I appeared on the battlefield, it changed everything. Heavily armored and armed with the feared 88mm gun, the Tiger could destroy enemy tanks long before they could respond. Its presence alone altered Allied tactics. From North Africa to the Eastern Front, the Tiger dominated open terrain. Few weapons could penetrate it from the front, but power came at a cost. The Tiger was slow, mechanically complex, and required enormous maintenance. Fuel consumption was extreme. Breakdowns were common. Yet in the hands of experienced crews, it became a battlefield predator. Not mass-produced, not flexible, but terrifyingly effective. StuG III Assault Gun. The StuG III was created by removing the turret from the Panzer III chassis. Low, compact, and easy to conceal, it excelled in ambush warfare. Originally intended for infantry support, it evolved into a deadly tank destroyer. With over 10,000 produced, it became the most common German armored vehicle of World War II. Jagdpanther 38T. Hetzer. Small, angular, and difficult to detect, the Hetzer was a highly efficient tank destroyer. Built on the reliable Czech 38T chassis, it featured sloped armor and a powerful 75mm gun. Its low silhouette made it ideal for defensive ambushes. Cheap to produce and effective in combat, the Hetzer proved that smart design could compensate for limited resources. Jagdpanther IV. The Jagdpanther IV mounted a long-barreled 75mm gun on a low-profile Panzer IV chassis. Designed primarily for defensive warfare, it excelled at engaging enemy tanks from concealed positions. Its sloped armor improved survivability, though the forward-heavy design affected mobility. Despite criticism from German commanders, it became a formidable and dangerous battlefield hunter. Marder II. As German tanks struggled against stronger Soviet armor, the Marder II was created as an emergency solution. It mounted a powerful anti-tank gun on an obsolete Panzer II chassis. The vehicle was open-topped, offering minimal protection to its crew. However, its gun could destroy most Allied tanks at range, making it a dangerous but vulnerable battlefield weapon. Marder III. Built on the Czech 38T chassis, the Marder III carried either captured Soviet guns or the German Pak-40. It provided desperately needed anti-tank firepower on the Eastern Front. While its exposed crew suffered from weather and enemy fire, the Marder III's gun remained lethal. It was a temporary design, but a necessary one during Germany's defensive battles. Nashorn. The Nashorn relied on one thing: firepower. It mounted a long 88mm gun, capable of destroying enemy tanks from extreme distances. Armor protection was minimal, leaving the crew highly vulnerable. Instead of close combat, the Nashorn operated as a long-range sniper, striking hard before relocating. When used correctly, it was deadly despite its fragility. Jagdpanther. The Jagdpanther combined the excellent Panther chassis with a devastating 88mm gun. It offered an ideal balance of mobility, protection, and firepower. With sloped armor and strong frontal defense, it could survive direct engagements while destroying enemy tanks at long range. Though produced in limited numbers, many historians regard it as the finest tank destroyer of World War II. Ferdinand. Elephant built on rejected Porsche Tiger hulls, the Ferdinand was designed as a heavily armored tank destroyer. Its thick frontal armor made it nearly immune to enemy fire. Armed with an 88mm gun, it was deadly at long range. However, early versions lacked a machine gun, leaving it vulnerable to infantry attacks until later improvements created the Elephant. Jagdtiger. The Jagdtiger was the heaviest armored fighting vehicle ever used in combat. Armed with a massive 128mm gun, it could destroy any Allied tank from extreme distances. Its armor was nearly impenetrable from the front, but its enormous weight caused constant mechanical failures, fuel shortages, and mobility problems, often preventing it from reaching the battlefield. Sturmpanzer I Bison. The Sturmpanzer I Bison was an early attempt at mobile heavy fire support. It mounted a 150mm infantry gun on the small Panzer I chassis. The vehicle was dangerously top-heavy and mechanically strained. Despite its flaws, it provided valuable heavy firepower during the early campaigns, especially in Poland and France. Waspe. The Waspe transformed the obsolete Panzer II into a fast, mobile artillery platform. Armed with a 105mm howitzer, it allowed German artillery to keep pace with advancing armored units. Lightly armored but highly mobile, the Waspe excelled at rapid fire support. It became one of Germany's most successful self-propelled artillery vehicles of the war. Flak Panzer IV, Wirbelwind. The Wirbelwind was created to defend armored units from low-flying Allied aircraft. Mounted on a Panzer IV chassis, it carried 420mm anti-aircraft guns and an open turret. The high rate of fire created a deadly wall of steel. Though lightly armored, it proved highly effective against aircraft and exposed ground targets. Flak Panzer 38T. The Flak Panzer 38T was an interim anti-aircraft solution. Built on the Czech 38T chassis, it mounted a single 20mm flak gun. Armor protection was minimal, leaving the crew dangerously exposed. Despite its vulnerabilities, it provided mobile air defense for German units during the middle years of the war. SDK FZ-251 Hanomag. The SDK FZ-251 was the iconic armored half-track of the German Panzer Grenadiers. Designed to transport infantry alongside tanks, it offered protection from small arms and shrapnel. With excellent off-road capability, it allowed mechanized infantry to keep pace with armored spearheads. Serving on every front, the Hanomag became the battlefield taxi of the Wehrmacht. SDKFZ-250. The SDKFZ-250 was a smaller, lighter cousin of the Hanomag. Used primarily for reconnaissance, command, and liaison roles, it offered speed and mobility over protection. Its compact size made it ideal for scouting missions and communication duties. Though lightly armored, it was a vital support vehicle in German armored formations. SDKFZ-7. The SDKFZ-7 was a medium half-track designed to tow heavy weapons. Most famously, it hauled the powerful 88mm flak gun across battlefields. With seating for the gun crew and reliable cross-country performance, it became a common sight on all fronts. Its versatility made it one of Germany's most important artillery prime movers. SDKFZ-9 FAMO. The SDKFZ-9, known as the FAMO, was the heaviest half-track used by Germany. Designed for tank recovery, it could tow disabled armored vehicles under combat conditions. Often, multiple FAMOs were linked together to move a single Tiger tank. Slow but immensely powerful, it was essential to maintaining armored operations. SDKFZ-222. The SDKFZ-222 was a light armored reconnaissance vehicle used in the early years of the war. Fast and agile on roads, it featured an angled armored hull and a small turret, mounting a 20mm cannon. Its speed allowed it to scout ahead of advancing forces. Light armor limited survivability, but its value lay in information, not firepower. SDKFZ-2318. RAD, the SDKFZ-231 was a heavy, 8-wheeled armored car designed for long-range reconnaissance. Its complex suspension allowed it to cross rough terrain with ease. Featuring 2 driver positions, it could retreat rapidly without turning around. Used extensively in early campaigns, it provided mobility and communications for fast-moving panzer formations. VW Kübelwagen, Type 82. The Kübelwagen was Germany's most widely used light utility vehicle. Simple, reliable, and easy to maintain, it performed well on rough terrain, despite having only rear-wheel drive. Used for transport, reconnaissance, and command duties, it served on every front. More practical than luxurious, the Kübelwagen became the everyday workhorse of the German army. VW Schwimmwagen Type 166. The Schwimmwagen was the most mass-produced amphibious vehicle in history. Based on the Volkswagen design, it featured a sealed hull and a fold-down propeller. Capable of crossing rivers, mud, and snow, it proved invaluable for reconnaissance and supply missions. Its versatility made it especially useful on the Eastern Front and in river crossing operations. Horch 108. The Horch 108 was a heavy off-road personnel vehicle used primarily in the early years of the war. Powered by a strong V8 engine, it transported officers, troops, and light equipment. It could also tow small artillery pieces. Reliable but complex, the Horch was gradually replaced by simpler designs as the war progressed. Ziege mortar. Karl Garrett was one of the largest self-propelled weapons ever built. This massive siege mortar fired shells weighing over 2 tons, designed to destroy heavily fortified targets. Only a handful were produced, each requiring enormous logistical support. Used against fortresses like Sevastopol, Karl Garrett was slow, complex, and rare, but terrifying in its destructive power. Goliath tracked mine. Seed KF Zeus 300 2/303. The Goliath was a small, remote-controlled, tracked explosive vehicle. Nicknamed the Beetle, it carried a large demolition charge intended to destroy tanks, bridges, and bunkers. Controlled by a wired system, it was vulnerable to damage before reaching its target. Though unreliable, it represented an early experiment in unmanned battlefield weapons. Zundap KS 750. The Zundap KS 750 was one of the most advanced military motorcycles of the war. With shaft drive, a driven sidecar, and reverse gear, it excelled off-road. Widely used on the Eastern Front, it transported troops, weapons, and supplies. Together with the BMW R75, it became a symbol of German motorcycle engineering. BMW R75. The BMW R75 was a heavy military motorcycle designed for extreme conditions. Featuring a driven sidecar wheel, it offered excellent off-road traction. Used for reconnaissance, communications, and escort duties, it proved durable and adaptable. Its design allowed it to operate effectively in mud, sand, and snow. Mercedes-Benz G4. The Mercedes-Benz G4 was a massive six-wheeled luxury vehicle. Often seen in propaganda parades, it transported high-ranking Nazi officials. While capable off-road, it was rarely used in combat zones. More symbol than weapon, the G4 represented power and prestige rather than battlefield utility. These vehicles were more than steel and engines. They carried soldiers into battle, supplied entire armies, and revealed both the brilliance and the limits of German military engineering. Some designs changed warfare forever. Others collapsed under their own complexity. Together, they tell the true story of a mechanized war fought across deserts, cities, forests, and frozen plains. This was the machinery that powered Germany's World War II campaign, from lightning-fast offensives to desperate last stands. History remembers the battles, but behind them were the vehicles that made them possible.